The rain was coming down in sheets as I drove home, the wipers on my old Ford struggling to keep up. I am Barnaby, a mechanic in my early 40s, living in a small town called Havenwood, nestled somewhere in the backwoods of Oregon. Havenwood wasn't much, but it was home. It was where I'd met my wife, Bronte, 15 years ago. Bronte. Just the thought of her used to fill me with warmth, a feeling of contentment that I thought would last forever. She was a kindergarten teacher, patient and kind, with a smile that could melt glaciers. We had a good life, a simple life, a cozy little house, a loyal dog named Gus, and each other. Or so I thought. The first crack in our perfect facade appeared about 6 months ago. Bronte started working late, claiming she had to prepare for new curriculum changes. I didn't think much of it at first. Bronte was dedicated to her job. But then the late nights became more frequent and her explanations grew vaguer. She started taking her phone everywhere, even to the bathroom, and would jump if I so much as glanced at the screen. I tried to talk to her about it, but she brushed it off, saying I was being paranoid. "You're imagining things, Barnaby," she'd say, her voice laced with a hint of annoyance. "I'm just busy. Can't you be supportive for once?" I wanted to believe her. I really did. But the doubt kept gnawing at me, a persistent ache in my gut. I started losing sleep, my mind racing with scenarios I didn't want to entertain. I found myself checking her mileage, scrutinizing her receipts, anything to find some semblance of truth. I hated myself for it, but I couldn't stop. One Tuesday, Bronte told me she had a meeting after work and wouldn't be home until late. I nodded, trying to appear nonchalant, but inside, my anxiety was building. I spent the evening tinkering in my garage, trying to distract myself, but the silence was deafening. Every creak of the house, every passing car, amplified my suspicions. Around 10 p.m., I decided I couldn't take it anymore. I told myself I was being ridiculous, that I needed to trust my wife, but the urge to know was overwhelming. I grabbed my keys and headed to Bronte's school. I knew it was a long shot, but I had to see for myself. The school was dark and deserted, the only light coming from a flickering street lamp nearby. I parked down the street and walked towards the building, my heart pounding in my chest. I peered through the windows, but everything was dark. Just as I was about to give up, I noticed a faint light coming from Bronte's classroom. I crept closer, my breath catching in my throat. The blinds were slightly open, just enough to offer a sliver of a view. What I saw next shattered my world into a million pieces. Bronte was there, all right, but she wasn't alone. She was in the arms of another man, a man I recognized as Klay, the new gym teacher. They were kissing, their bodies pressed together in a way that made my stomach churn. It wasn't a friendly hug or a peck on the cheek. It was a passionate, desperate embrace, the kind you share with someone you deeply desire. I stood there, frozen, unable to move or speak. It was like watching a movie, a nightmare unfolding before my eyes. My mind struggled to process what I was seeing, to reconcile the image of my loving wife with the woman entangled with another man. Finally, the shock wore off, replaced by a white-hot rage. I wanted to burst through the door, to tear Klay limb from limb, to scream at Bronte until my voice gave out. But I didn't. I couldn't. I just stood there, paralyzed by the enormity of the betrayal. I turned and stumbled back to my car, tears streaming down my face. I drove home in a daze, the rain blurring my vision. I didn't know what to do, what to say. All I knew was that everything I thought I knew about my life was a lie. I spent the rest of the night sitting in my garage, staring at the tools scattered around me. I felt numb, empty. The pain was so intense it was almost physical, like a knife twisting in my gut. Bronte came home around midnight, her face flushed, her hair slightly disheveled. She walked in, all smiles and apologies for being late. "The meeting ran longer than expected," she said, giving me a quick kiss on the cheek. "How was your evening?" I looked at her, at the woman I had loved and trusted for so long, and I felt nothing but disgust. How could she stand there lying to my face after what she had done? How could she betray me so callously? I didn't say anything. I just turned and walked into the house, leaving her standing in the doorway, confused. I went straight to our bedroom and started packing a bag. "Barnaby, what are you doing?" she asked, following me into the room. Her voice was laced with concern, but I could see the flicker of guilt in her eyes. "I'm leaving," I said, my voice flat. "I know about you and Klay." Her face paled. "What are you talking about?" she stammered, but the denial was weak, unconvincing. "I saw you, Bronte," I said, my voice rising. "I saw you with him at the school. Don't insult me by pretending it didn't happen." Tears welled up in her eyes. "Barnaby, please let me explain," she pleaded, reaching out to me. I recoiled from her touch. "Explain what? Explain how you could betray me like this. Explain how you could throw away everything we had for a cheap fling with some gym teacher." "It wasn't like that," she sobbed. "It just happened. I don't know why, it just happened," I repeated, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "That's your excuse, it just happened. Well, guess what, Bronte? I'm leaving, and that's just happening too." I finished packing my bag and walked out of the house, leaving Bronte standing there, crying. I didn't look back. I couldn't. I knew if I did I might weaken, might forgive her. But I couldn't forgive this. This was unforgivable. I spent the next few weeks living in a cheap motel on the outskirts of Havenwood. I couldn't bring myself to go back to our house, to the place that held so many memories, now tainted by Bronte's betrayal. I threw myself into my work, fixing cars and trying to forget the pain. But it was no use. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her in Klay's arms. I called a lawyer and started the divorce proceedings. Bronte called me, texted me, begged me to reconsider, but I refused to speak to her. I had nothing to say. She had made her choice, and now she had to live with the consequences. As the divorce dragged on, I started hearing things through the grapevine. Apparently, Bronte and Klay were the talk of Havenwood. People whispered behind their backs, gossiped about their affair. Klay's wife had left him, taking their kids with her. Bronte was ostracized by her friends, her reputation ruined. I should have felt vindicated, happy that they were suffering the consequences of their actions. But I didn't. All I felt was a deep, gnawing sadness. Sadness for what we had lost, sadness for the pain we had caused each other. One day, I received a letter from Bronte. It was a handwritten letter, filled with apologies and regrets. She admitted that she had made a terrible mistake, that she had hurt me in ways she could never undo. She said she understood why I couldn't forgive her, but she hoped that one day I would be able to move on and find happiness again. I read the letter, tears blurring my vision. A part of me wanted to believe her, to forgive her. But the pain was still too raw, the betrayal too deep. I folded the letter and put it away, knowing that I could never go back to the way things were. The divorce was finalized a few weeks later. I sold our house and packed my belongings, ready to leave Havenwood for good. I couldn't stay there, not with all the memories, not with the constant reminders of Bronte's betrayal. As I was driving out of town, I decided to take one last detour. I drove past Bronte's school, the place where I had discovered her affair. I parked across the street and stared at the building, a wave of emotions washing over me. I saw Bronte walking out of the school, her head down, her shoulders slumped. She looked tired, defeated. As she walked towards her car, I noticed Klay walking towards her too. He put his arm around her and she leaned into him, seeking comfort. I watched them for a moment, a strange mix of anger, sadness, and pity swirling inside me. Then I started my car and drove away, leaving Havenwood and Bronte behind for good. I ended up in Portland, a city I'd only visited a few times. I found a small apartment, got a job at a local garage, and tried to start over. It wasn't easy. The memories of Bronte haunted me, the pain of her betrayal lingering like a phantom limb. But slowly I started to heal. I made new friends, explored the city, and discovered new hobbies. I started taking photography classes, something I had always wanted to do but never had the time for. I found solace in capturing the beauty of the world around me, in focusing on something other than my own pain. One evening I was at a local coffee shop, editing some photos on my laptop. A woman approached me, drawn by the images on my screen. Her name was Amara. She was an artist, a painter with a kind smile and a warm heart. We started talking, and I found myself drawn to her. She was easy to talk to, a good listener, and she didn't judge me for my past. We started spending time together, exploring the city, going to art galleries, and sharing our stories. I told her about Bronte, about the betrayal, about the pain I had endured. She listened patiently, offering words of comfort and support. As time went on, I started to fall in love with Amara. She was everything Bronte wasn't: honest, open, and genuine. She didn't try to hide her flaws, and she accepted me for who I was, scars and all. One day, I took Amara to the coast, to a secluded beach where I used to go with Bronte. I hadn't been there since the divorce and I was nervous about revisiting the memories. But Amara held my hand and her presence gave me strength. We walked along the beach, the waves crashing at our feet. The sun was setting, painting the sky in vibrant hues of orange and pink. I stopped and turned to Amara, my heart pounding in my chest. "Amara," I said, "I know it's soon, but I have to tell you something. I'm in love with you. I never thought I could love again after what happened with Bronte, but you've shown me that it's possible. You've healed me in ways I never thought imaginable." Amara smiled, her eyes sparkling with tears. "Barnaby," she said, "I love you too. I've been waiting for you to say it. I know you've been hurt, but I promise to always be there for you, to always be honest with you, and to always love you with all my heart." I pulled her close and kissed her, a kiss that was filled with love, hope, and healing. In that moment, I knew that I had finally found my way back to happiness, that I had finally escaped the shadow of Bronte's betrayal. But the story doesn't quite end there. A few years later, I received an unexpected phone call. It was from Bronte. She sounded distraught, her voice trembling. "Barnaby," she said, "I need your help. Klay left me. He ran off with another woman, leaving me with nothing. I've lost my job, my friends, everything. I don't know what to do." I was silent for a moment, unsure how to respond. A part of me wanted to tell her that she deserved it, that she was getting what she had coming to her. But another part of me, a part that still remembered the woman I had once loved, felt a pang of sympathy. "Bronte," I said, "I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry you're going through this, but I can't help you. You made your choices and now you have to live with them. Please, Barnaby," she begged. "I have nowhere else to turn. I'm desperate." I hesitated, torn between my anger and my compassion. Finally, I made a decision. "I can't give you money or a place to stay," I said, "but I can give you some advice. Get yourself some therapy, Bronte. Figure out why you made the choices you did. Learn from your mistakes and try to be a better person. That's all I can offer you." I hung up the phone, feeling a strange sense of closure. I didn't forgive Bronte, not completely, but I had let go of the anger, the resentment. I had moved on and I was finally at peace. I went back to Amara, to the woman who had shown me the true meaning of love and forgiveness. I held her close, grateful for her presence in my life. And as I looked into her eyes, I knew that I had finally found my happy ending. A happy ending that Bronte's betrayal had almost stolen from me.